Well, this is it. This is the Uncrashed FPV Drone Simulator. I literally had to buy it because up until recently I only had the Liftoff and I have more than a dozen hours. Well, I also have the Drone Racing League simulator which I have some hours there. But I'm kind of a Liftoff guy, so I said let me try some other simulators. So then I got the Liftoff micro drones, the FPV Skydive, Trip FPV Uncrashed FPV Drone Simulator, which is this one, and FPV Freerider Recharged. And I was actually quite surprised about the mechanics and the physics of this game. They're actually much better than the ones in the Liftoff, I can say, because in the Liftoff it is a little bit more difficult to learn. The throttle is not as responsive as with Uncrashed, and as well, the drone is very drifty in Liftoff. So if you are a very beginner and you want to start with the Liftoff instead of this, maybe that's a better choice, I can say, because it is much harder to learn in Liftoff. But once you get the hang out of it and you fly the drone well in Liftoff and you do the freestyle in Liftoff, everything else is gonna look like just some simple games, so easy, including a Trip FPV and Uncrashed, which is this one. I can also say that this is a very good simulator if you want to start training for the first time, if you want to get into FPV. It works like most of the FPV remote controllers. It should work with no issues. For example, I have the DJI FPV remote controller too, and I also have the FreeSky Horus S10 Express, which both of them works very well in Uncrashed with no issues, but at this time I like more a smaller controller, so it's works just fine. The Uncrashed, I can say it has some quite nice graphics, but the only complaint I have is that, well, let's say, let me just say that this simulator has quite a broad library of maps, but some maps are smaller while some others are very large. If I'm trying to train in some very large maps, I have performance issues. And just to mention, this computer has a 6 GB video card, like GeForce 1660 Ti or something like that, 6 GB video card with 32 GB of RAM, i7 9th generation, and I have performance issues while this is low resolution, like 1300 something like that by 700 something like that, medium quality, just to be able to not have any kind of performance issues, because we don't need graphics when we train in FPV. We need to be as smooth as possible. These maps, this and this one as well, the other one and this one as well, they are working quite well. But if I choose a larger map, I have some performance issues. So that's what I'm wondering, what kind of computer do you actually need to be able to play everything at maximum graphics, maximum resolution, not 4K but at least 2.7K, and enjoy a smooth flying experience. On top of that, I also have on my MacBook Air with M2 with the base 8 GB of RAM, and if you drop the details to the minimum, you can actually train, and the simulator runs very smoothly. I can't complain about that, at least with these maps. But what do I think overall about the Uncrashed FPV Drone Simulator? Well, I have a very positive response. I like to train in it. I have to choose somewhere between Trip FPV and Uncrashed FPV Drone Simulator, which is this one, of course. This one has a little bit better physics, and I like when you crash that the drone just rolls. It's very realistic with reality. When you crash your FPV drone, it's quite realistic. But on the other side, the Trip FPV has massive maps with lots and lots and lots of content by far Uncrashed FPV doesn't have. Uncrashed is better regarding physics and mechanics of the drone. Liftoff is good if you're looking something challenging, like a challenging simulator to train, to learn, and so on. Well, the Drone Racing League if you're actually looking for racing, more racing. But yeah, I can't say anything negative about Uncrashed, other than the fact that it has quite some performance issues with quite a good gaming computer. Well, in 2023 I can say that it's still a decent gaming computer and I should not have these performance issues. Other than that, Uncrashed, it's quite simple. Remember, when you get in for the first time, you will need to set up your remote controller, you will need to calibrate. I think you'll need to invert some axes if I remember well, and of course put your rates, they have the actual rates. I think they have the beta flight as well, but I'm using actual rates. Right, that's all I can say. I'm blabbering too much. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I to see you around.